Hey, it's Nick Rainey with the first video, full feature. It's going to be a couple segments, I think, to get through this whole thing. I'm going to try and keep each one around 8 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to release them a couple of days. So it's not going to be where you have to wait a week to see all the good stuff. This was a couple weeks ago, so it should be interesting to look back and go over everything with a fresh mind. And there's going to be a lot of things probably that at the time might have made sense. Looking back now, I'll be like, wow, that wasn't so pretty. I've looked at a few of the first hands. Here we are at the start of the final table. First hand at the big dance. Looking around, obviously I have a very good stack. I have almost 300,000. Second place has about half, a little more than half of what I have. And then there's a lot of people in the 30, 40, 50,000 range. A couple of guys with close to 100,000. So, right now we're the favorite. I do have, all the kind of big stacks to my left, but that's fine. They're not really going to be, most likely they're not going to be playing too crazy against me or trying to make moves against me. They're going to just kind of let me do my thing and just work their way back up the money ladder, and they're just not going to be looking to get involved with me too much. So obviously I'm going to fold Jack 4 here. When you're not in the hand, it's so important to pay attention to what's going on. In here, min raises on the button, and Irish knot ships it all in. So that's good to know that, okay, he min bet there. Let's see, what is his next raise going to be? Is he going to bump it up, or is that kind of what his raising size is going to be? Okay, here I have pocket deuces. 4995 is kind of my standard raise when the blinds are at this point. If the blinds are 122.40, I make it 495 or 498. So it's just a little bit above a min raise. And the reason I do that is that I'm going to raise a lot of hands. I'm going to raise junk, I'm going to raise my good hands, but I'm going to be raising so much that when they 3-bet me or go all in and I have to fold, I lose very little. I'm not raising it 3 times the blind, to 7,200 and then folding. I'm going to lose, a lot less than the average guy who's betting 2.5 or 3 times the blinds. So basically, it's a min raise, is a little bit more. Okay, my opponent devil calls here in the big blind, so he can really have all sorts of things. You'd have to imagine if he had ace king, ace queen, big pair, he probably would re-raise. So I'm putting him on, maybe a suited connector, maybe a jack 9, queen 8, queen 9, king 10, something that looks better than it is, and he wants to defend. He is getting great odds when he's getting 4.4 to 1. I don't mind him calling because I have position, and that's so important. He's getting great odds to play hand out of position against the chip leader. What does he? He's not going to be most likely making plays against me, check and raising me with nothing. So I don't mind this at all. I like the spot, and I'm going to make my continuation bet. No matter what comes here on the flop, I'm going to bet. Probably going to bet somewhere around in the $4,000 to $6,000 range. Sometimes I do a little less than half. Sometimes I do, I don't think I'm going to raise it more than half the pot. My continuation bet will not be more than half the pot. It might be, but most of the time, I try and keep it real small. And it doesn't matter if the flop comes deuce, 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 which would be pretty crazy, but if it came like 10 deuce, deuce, I'm going to make my same exact continuation bet no matter what I have. Okay, so it comes ace 9 6. And this is a really good flop for us because we can represent the ace. Most likely this guy does not have an ace, so if he has like jack 9 or 9 8, I mean, he's gonna have to probably give us credit for an ace, and maybe he can peel one off and see the turn, but most likely he's just gonna give it up because he checks and I bet. So I bet 5,000, which is less than half the pot, and he folds and we take it down. So that was a good flop, for us. Even though we don't have anything, it looks like we have something because the story that we're telling, what we're trying to represent, is that we have like ace king, ace queen. We raise late position, and that flop hit us, and we made our continuation bet. And if he has like, king 10, queen 10, whatever, he's just going to fold it. And we can even get him to fold if he had a 9 there, or a 6 or something like that. So it's just important to make the same exact play with all of your hands so that your opponents can't really get a read on you. Okay, so here we have Jack 10, and again, I make the same raise, 49.95. I might mix it up and make it like 49.96 or 4900, but it's all very close to min raise. Now Devil re-raises us. It's interesting. He doesn't shove all in, which he definitely could have done. He 3-bets us. If my bet's 5,000, a little less than 2.5 times, and I'm getting 3.3 to 1. If I had a shove all in here, I don't think we're getting him to fold. For me, this is the ideal stop and go spot. I can call 7,000, and on the flop there's going to be 30,000 in the pot, which is more than he has. So I can just shove all in on the flop, and if he doesn't have something, he's going to have to lay it down. And he can easily have hands that have us beat. He could have like ace king, and if it comes queen 7 6 and we shove all in, is he really going to want to call all in with ace high? If he has a hand like 2 7s, 2 8s, 2 queens, and 2 kings, and it comes ace high, and we shove all in, is he going to want to make that tough call? So we can put a lot of pressure on. If I flop the nuts, if it comes 7 8 9, I'm going to shove all in. I'm going to make the same exact play no matter what comes here on the flop. For me, it's just a perfect stop and go spot. Okay, flop comes ace 7 2. And if he doesn't have ace, an ace, he can't really call here. Now, let's think about this kind of in reverse, or if we're devil. Most people, if they did have ace king or ace queen, and they're in my situation, they would have probably gone all in pre-flop. It looks like I probably have some kind of flush draw. If I was in his situation and my opponent did what I did right here, I'd be tempted if I was him to call with like king queen, because I would think, this guy does not have an ace. But the people don't think like that. They look at their hand, they have nothing, and they just fold. So it's important to kind of analyze the situation. I can make this play because the opponents are all idiots, and I can get away with it. But against a good player, someone who knows what's going on, they're going to say, okay, it's a stop and go. He has garbage. And that's why you have to make the same play if you do have. I wouldn't probably have called there with some random aces, but if you did, you'd have to make the same play so that when they do call you with king queen, you have them crushed. He lays it down, so I take it down, and now I have just under 300,000. And I pick up 2 kings. Peter Pan makes it 11,000. That's a big raise. So, it's a little over 4 times. The blinds. I'm definitely going to 3-bet here because I want to get this money in now when I have the best hand, most likely. And, it's a little bit more than a min raise. It should look pretty strong to him, but I'm not really letting him fold. I'm just trying to get more money in the pot right now when I have the best hand. And he just flat calls, which is interesting. Probably because Fossum is, right there, he's looking at this guy with such a small stack. He probably doesn't want to get knocked out before him, so he wants to, make sure that he doesn't get knocked out before Fossum does. And on the flop, I just basically put him all in. It's a great flop for me if he doesn't have a set, and most likely he would have got in 9s or 7s pre-flop, and he just takes it down. I don't want to check and give him a free card, so if he wants to play, it's going to cost you your whole stack, and he didn't want to. So now we're just crushing this final table. We got 320,000 and looking good.